Thank you.
Got it.
Here's the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, they'll stand approved as sent.
Thank you, Jane.
Yes, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
There was one purchase that we made in the last couple of weeks. Andrew purchased a couple of speakers that we'll talk about when we get to the next item on the church. But we need to approve that purchase. Andrew, could you remember how much?
It was approximately $32 and some odd cents. It was
Right.
not 33. It was about $32 and change, for which I already have received a petty cash reimbursement from the office.
Okay. Could I have a motion to approve that?
I make the
Jane
motion.
makes the motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, the speakers, as we get into the next item, the speakers work very good. Basically, it's a way for us to take the Zoom participants who want to speak and say something and project it into the room at the church. So they're basically speakers coming out of my computer, pointed to the open area, so people in the room and the board can hear somebody on Zoom. And it seems like a simple solution. I'm glad Andrew considered it because we couldn't find, our initial idea was to go from my computer into the soundboard so that people could hear the Zoom participants through the speakers in the church, but that wasn't working well, so this was a good solution. You could hear, I think, Barbara when she presented real well.
No problem.
Roger just walked in. We have Andrew and then on.
Okay.
Yeah, we just are getting started with. We just approved the speaker purchase that we bought for the church.
Okay.
And so the last meeting at the church was this past Monday, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It's easy to forget. And Andrew, you were online. Did it seem to work well on the Zoom portion of it?
Yeah, it was fine. It was everything about it was good, and one or two times one of the microphones may have been turned off, but when someone started using a dead mic, I think someone else must have seen what was happening, and maybe you or someone else pointed out to the person, "Oh, hold on, your mic's not working," and that got corrected quickly. Whenever someone was speaking into the mic, the sound was terrific. And I guess you just asked Jane if she heard people virtually okay in the church, and she said yes, right? So I do think we have the audio figured out. And the only other thing I'll say, and I want to be careful with this because we're all volunteers and we're not professionals. Sometimes the video work was a little disconcerting. I understand, the objective to sort of pan around and capture who's speaking, and it can be tricky, especially when you're moving the camera around and at the same time you are zooming in and out. That takes some dexterity and some thinking, and people will get better at it as we move along. I'll just remind everyone that an alternative to having someone, in quotes, operate the video would be to have the same camera or even a simple USB wide angle camera mounted on a tripod, capturing the entire room static, and that's it. As in no camera operator. And I just say it as an option. I'm not saying, hey, let's do that because that's better. No, not necessarily. Maybe, as the camera operator gets, better and better, it is the downside of a whole audience shot is that you don't get that close-up picture that the camera operator gets when they get the person. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. This is not a complaint. You asked me to observe, and this is what I observed. So, but I think we've got this audio and video in a headlock. We've got it figured out, and it's just a matter of continuous improvement from here.
Lynn, you had a comment? You're muted, Lynn. Lynn, you're muted.
Sorry.
Rewind.
Who's doing the camera work, Chris?
Well, we have 2 people. Tom Couillard, when he's here, is usually going to operate the camera, and he does less zooming and maybe less panning. But Tom's always gone. He's a world traveler, and he and his wife do a lot of traveling. So he wasn't here. When he's not here, Leslie Jacobs does. And
Sorry.
Leslie Jacobs.
Oh, Leslie. Okay.
Leslie is still learning. She likes to zoom in, and I like the Zoom too. I like it when you've got John and Steve talking, that you're focused on them, because they're, you can I think get more definition of what they're doing and saying. But there's times when maybe Leslie needs to slow down a little bit, and she had trouble this last time when I think it was Peter Farron, the landscape committee chairman, came to the microphone, and she's got the camera focused on the ceiling, and she's fumbling with it and trying to get it to work right, and somehow she turned the record off. And so we actually have 2 recordings for the last meeting, one of most of the meeting and one of the last 5 minutes. So it's little things like that we still have to, try to get ironed out. And part of it is just getting the camera set up right and having it in a good location when somebody from the audience comes to speak. And then being able to show them on the camera, which is, again, I think what we want is to be able to show that audience participant. But we just have to get the camera sort of situated in the right place.
Could we recruit some people, for one thing, so that you'll have a group to draw from? But I don't quite know how to say this, but we could do a little training and say, this is what's desirable. This is what communicates the event and the individuals within the event, and so on. I mean, I'm not talking about something intensive, but it would be useful to, I don't know what direction you've given Leslie, but I think something more specific.
neither of our operators I've given much information to or
Okay.
suggested to it, and there's no reason we can't kind of get a little list together of things that we would like to have done with the camera.
Or
Let,
is,
let,
is
let
that
me
on-
just take, sorry, go ahead, Lynn.
is the camera on a I haven't looked at the last meeting or so. Is
Yeah,
it
the
on
camera-
a tripod or is she walking
But-
around?
iPod, and it's really just a matter of I mean, we can have little issues that sometimes crop up that we don't anticipate. At one of the last meetings, the camera defaulted to its initial setting,
Mhm.
and one of the initial settings was to have it record to the internal storage rather than to the external storage. And the external storage fills up fast. And so we had trouble that way. And I don't know why it started with, you know, like the date and the time and all this kind of stuff. But every once in a while that seems to happen. So we just have to kind of anticipate some of the issues a little bit better. And certainly we could ask other people that might want to participate as a camera operator as well, because there may be times when neither Tom or Leslie are available. Dennis Lee might be a good one. He ran the soundboard for this last meeting because Roger wasn't available. And so Dennis, I'm sure, could run the camera without too much problem. But we need to give them some direction. I don't think there's any question about that.
Well, let me work with you then, Chris, on that.
Sure.
I did a fair amount of that in my former life.
Okay. The one other thing that we didn't occur to me, I believe the last time we were in the church, we had a long enough cable to the TV. And this time, I think it was a different TV. And so the cable was shorter.
Okay.
And so the cable was kind of in Dennis's way, or the TV was kind of in Dennis's way a little bit. And I have a longer HDMI cable that I didn't bring.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of getting all the right parts in order. It's a relatively complex operation. I need at least a half hour or more like 45 minutes to get set up for a meeting at the church. So it is what it is. And again, I think we're getting better at it.
Can I just add one thing, which isn't part of our mandate, by any means, but board members all have their little name tag. You know,
Right.
you can't read them.
Right. When the camera is showing them backwards,
Well,
Really?
no, I mean, even
that
sitting at the table,
you can't.
it's too small.
Yeah.
The type, and it's all uppercase.
Right.
And I couldn't read any of them, and I was sitting fairly far forward.
I can bring that up.
It's just, we need 2 lines bigger
Yeah.
upper and lowercase.
Good point.
And John will be making some new ones, because there's some new directors going on
Right.
at the next meeting.
And we can make that suggestion that needs to be bigger. It's a bigger room.
It's a bigger room.
And so
Yeah.
Who
But
from the office helps,
the camera, everything is backwards.
who is it from the office that helps set these meetings up?
John, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I agree with the observation about the name tags. I don't think it's necessarily the purview of the IT committee to produce identification markers for the meeting. That's needs to be a shared meeting production with John or Cynthia
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
so. And
They never
let me
had
put-
till what, maybe a couple years ago?
Oh, no. They've had it for 15 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Name tag?
Yeah.
I didn't
They're
realize.
turning them on their.
I'm standing them up when you want to speak.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm encouraged that Lynn is gonna work with Chris to continue to refine. Just please remember the backstop. If in the future we end up like, hey, the camera person didn't show up, or we don't have a camera person, or we continue to have some issues. At the last community I was at, I had 2 cameras. One was a USB camera, just like you put on top of your screen. And I mounted that on a tripod with an extra long USB cord. And I was able to position that camera to the board of directors. I had my cell phone, which I dialed into the meeting and turned off the audio of the cell phone. Only, so I used it as a dumb video camera, and I mounted it on a tripod. And that was facing the audience. So one camera faces the board, the other camera faces the audience, no camera operator involved. And it worked great. So the downside is you don't get the refinement of the zooming or the panning, but the zooming and if we want the zooming and the panning qualities, then that comes with an ongoing maintenance commitment of training and observation, which has been discussed here today. So that's great. I'm all for it, because getting other folks involved is always a good thing. But if we feel that it's becoming too much, or it's not getting where we want to get it, don't forget this plan B, which is 2 static cameras, and you set them up before the meeting, and you don't concern yourself with it during the meeting. Okay.
Thank you. Let's take a look at our next item here, and that is website review, and particularly association documents. Lynn spent a lot of time on this, and it looks like we have a pretty good setup right now. If we look at this is what they look like right now. And these are the divisions that was suggested by Lynn, and we put those into operation. One of the things I'm not quite sure. You notice that some of the items are in blue and some are in black. When you hover over the black ones, they turn to blue. And I'm not sure how to fix that. They're all linked. There's no doubt about that. But they tend to turn to black after I've tested them. And and I'm not sure why they don't turn back to blue. I can ask the support people on the website if there's any reason that should happen or why it's happening. You did have one suggestion, Lynn, about one that turned pink. I think it was on the estoppel form, and I did fix that. It's no
It was
longer.
nice, though.
So Lynn did a lot of work in getting these redone and revised and put into better shape. So thank you very much. I acknowledged you at the board meeting, Lynn.
Thank you, Chris. May I make one comment?
Absolutely.
That's nice. The mess that page was in, both in terms of the content and the display of things, the arrangement, led me to wonder whether there are other pages that are in, that have just been added to willy-nilly over the many years, that we ought to be sort of randomly checking, or checking as we use the website. Anyway, it was wrong in so many ways that it just occurred to me to mention that some deeper scrutiny might be appropriate for other menus, other sub-menus and so on.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question about it that in overtime, I've added, because I'm the one responsible, I've added things and haven't gone back and looked at how they look in in a wider perspective. So you mentioned in an email this morning about the the private association documents area. Trying to figure out where I put that. I think, yeah, so
I couldn't find where that was, so,
it's under documents, and
over there.
it needs a lot of work. There's no doubt about it.
I'm not sure if we could just get rid of that and put the link going to the other page that it just got worked on. I don't know if there's anything additional here,
Um,
but
I,
we can look at it.
I don't think there is, but I think that I can try that. I can try that. The other page is more than a page. No, that's not the right one. Yeah, if we go back to this area here, yeah, we might be able to do that. Yeah, I can try that.
If they're in both places, I don't see why not.
Yeah. I think originally there were some things that we thought might be more owner specific, or not something that we wanted to necessarily have the public be involved with. I guess one is owner responsibilities. So there may be a couple of things on here that are not on the other one.
But maybe those could be put under residents.
Yeah, there's other places that we could have.
An
Yeah, you're
application,
right.
the owner's responsibilities,
Yeah.
maybe the insurance appraisal, we don't want to be public.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things, I think might be able to be tucked under the resident column,
Right.
menu item.
I think they are, Roger.
Pardon?
The resident responsibilities are in the residence menu.
Okay, so say we got duplication.
Right, right.
Probably don't need it.
Yeah.
Mhm. You're right, yeah.
Well, it certainly is one of the problems I have, because we do have duplication with a number of things. And there are times when I don't get the changes made in both locations. So we can take a look at that. You also, I think there was one other thing you pointed out, Lynn, in an email this morning.
Yeah. There was a thing about the private side. Oh, also within this document, the association, the application for occupancy is the old one.
Right, right.
So I suggested you list it differently with the link that goes to the new thing we just did.
Yeah, I think I did change that this morning
Okay.
for this, but you're right. I have to make sure that it might be somewhere else too, that we gotta make sure it's a new one. And there are some other things that have been changed that needs to be updated as well. So it's a constant, it's a continual thing. We're always, it's a big enough website that it's helpful to have lots of people looking at it, and I am I'm always amenable to having people find things that we need to improve and change and get up to date.
Hey, Chris, could you put on your to-do list? I think you were gonna do this a while back, but in the resident directory, there's a video of instruction on how to use the directory. But that that sign, that menu item from YouTube is still up there, that the video is not available because it breaks YouTube
Oh,
rules or something.
yeah,
Um,
YouTube has some new rules.
So. And I blanked out. I blanked out on how to find somebody yesterday, and I said, "Oh, well, here's the video." And whoops. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah. This link right here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
Weird.
know why that would be considered harassment or bullying.
Very, very weird.
Really, Chris?
I don't get it.
I don't either. I
Maybe
think
take it down and put it back in
I-
again and see what happens.
It's very possible that what they want you to do is pay for their premium.
Oh boy.
That might be what's going on there.
Well, sounds like we might have a written instruction list on the menu.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. It is not the most intuitive search area that.
No, it's a little challenging.
Yeah, we
And,
used to have a better one with our previous website, but
It's written for professionals who already know how to use something like that.
yeah,
Because it's perfectly clear to me, but I was trained in that.
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No,
it's not most
I
of
would
this,
agree.
not most of this crowd. And I know the printed version of the directory, it says the last version is October 2023. I think. So I'm not sure. I guess that's the front office responsibility to keep that updated.
Actually not.
Oh, it's not? Is it our responsibility?
Should be. But
Yeah, it should be the front office.
it actually was sort of, Catherine took it on last year, and particularly towards the beginning of the year, she went through the directory and eliminated people that had moved away and added people. The one of the issues is that people who are new and want to get a website account, they're automatic when they do that, and we approve them. They're put in the directory. But if somebody doesn't want an account or ask for an account, we don't have any real good procedure for putting them in the directory. And one of the problems is there's certain legislative things that say we can do certain things with them, but not other things. We can put in their email, but not necessarily their phone number. So things like that, we have to be a little bit careful with if they haven't chosen to have an account. So it is something that I think the office ought to do, but in the past, that's been sort of hit or miss, and so we've kind of taken on at least some of the, or at least, Catherine did a pretty nice job of going through it last year, but as we'll get to later, Catherine has stepped down from the committee, And I don't think she's gonna do it this year, so.
Can I circle back around with you on that, side conversation, or let's bring it up again?
Sure.
Um, because, there's no elegant way to execute an up-to-date directory listing other than taking a 2 or 3 month period and 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 chunking out a couple of dozen outreach calls or emails each time, and until you work through 556 units. And that's the way to get an accurate directory, including people who don't answer or hang up on you or whatever. And if that's the case, then they'll be put in a separate group. But I feel pretty strongly that an up-to-date directory is a really important piece of our or any condo, HOA, or co-op community. So I'll circle back and potentially offer up my services to help do that. But I don't want to step on other people's purview. I mean, maybe John has an approach to this, or it's in Cynthia's regular cycle of work. I don't know. From where my experience in the past is that the directory is absolutely locked into and kind of an established part of front office operations, because it's tied into the buying and selling of units and the regular annual submittal of the proof of insurance from all units, for example. And those check-in items to the front office are ways to, double check against the directory. So my experience has been that it normally is a front office operation, but hey, every community is different, and we got our resources are our resources. And a lot of times people have like 125% on their to-do list all the time. And so maybe we don't get to it, and maybe we can help out.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's probably we actually have, it looks like 682 people in there right now. But that means that we often have a husband and a wife that are both in. I can certainly talk to John, because it looks like we're going to have a changeover in the office here, and we can add the responsibility of keeping the directory up to date and matching. They have a spreadsheet, which is an owner spreadsheet, and that's sort of the one that they go by, and we just need to make sure that our directory matches.
Is there anything in the statute that says we can't require people to give us the information to be in the directory?
We
and
can put-
automatically have an account.
Yeah, we can put people in the directory. We just have to give them the option of hiding the phone number.
So maybe that could be either in the documentation or a separate document when John does the closings with the new people. It's like,
Right.
you need to fill this page out and leave it with us so we can get you in the directory and set up your
Right.
web account.
No, I think that makes sense.
That's a good point, Roger. The other committee I came from, I do remember in their directory, there were a few listings where it gave the name of the owner and then the dotted line over to the right-hand side of the page, and nothing except the unit number. No phone number, no email, and that's an option that people can.
Yeah,
But
when
they're very
somebody
few.
applies for an account, we automatically put in their profile that they need to show the profile. And that's sort of, I think we're sort of in a gray area there. But if they don't check that box, then they don't show up in the directory. And so we we sort of make sure that that box is checked so that they can show up in the directory. And we have a disclaimer in the profile area that says if they don't want their phone number shown, then this is what they have to do. They have to go into their profile and make some changes. The law says we can put their email in. As far as I read the law, we can do that even without their permission. But I think the idea that Roger suggests that we make sure that this is done at closing makes sense. That we do that when we have the interview with them in the office and make sure that they are put in at that time and explain what their options are.
And I think email is on the census form,
Yes,
which could be and should be updated if it needs to be.
yeah,
But there again, nobody's filling it out once a year.
yeah. Well,
Unless it gets mailed out, maybe that's gotta be part of this package.
I
That goes out to the end of the meeting. It's time to update this document and it must be returned.
no, I think that's one of the reasons I was having us look at that census form is because I think it should be at least emailed out and maybe mailed out so that people do update. And I know we haven't been doing that. That hasn't happened. So I was going to sort of put the census thing off so that I could I just actually today reviewed the comments that both Jane and Lynn made, and let me sort of combine those and put something back out. It's a mess.
Sorry.
And both of you made very good comments, so I'll try to get those all together, because I do think that that's an important form for the association to be using.
It would help in keeping that directory current.
Right.
But nobody's gonna fill it out unless it's put in front of their nose.
Right.
And as the word Roger used, must return.
Yeah, but still, we're not gonna get them all.
No, but it might push a few more people,
Yeah.
these sort of quasi rule followers.
Right. I think actually, the only problem with sending it out in email is that it'll have to be downloaded. But still, it's we can actually make once it's revised, we can make a link to it. So, yes, go ahead, Lynn.
Could we also make it a fillable form? And
Yeah.
then when somebody opens it in Acrobat or the Mac program, you could then you have the ability from the program itself, to email it back to the office. So
Right.
it wouldn't have to be printed. The other question is, could somebody please check about whether it's the email that's held private, or that the person can control that, yes or no, or the phone? One of those is in the statutes for sure, and I think it's the email. I'm not positive.
Yeah, it is.
Wait, that needs to get nailed down.
Yeah. No,
Whoever on the board has memorized the statutes.
yeah. I remember when it was put in. It was only a few years ago. Prior to that, the associations didn't have the ability to put that in their directory, but that was added. Let's move on to the next item, which is the new cable internet contract. I did put a page up with the three areas, it's in the announcements area, and it's under right here, the three presentations are now in the announcements area. So if you want to take a look at them, they're all videos. I don't know how Roger feels about this, but it seems pretty obvious to me that we need to renew with Spectrum. They dropped their price by $10 or more per month per user for association with 556 units. That's $6,000 a month that we would save staying with Spectrum. And over the course of the 5-year contract, they want a 5-year contract. The two fiber companies want 10-year contracts. Over the course of the 5-year contract with Spectrum, my numbers and Mark Howard has done the numbers as well. We would save about $490,000. It's a no-brainer. Spectrum is offering us better speeds, better download speeds, the same kind of channel lineup we've had, and I just don't see how we could turn that money down. Go ahead.
Chris, when you say we would save, you mean the owners, that all gets passed through. It's not on the.
Right. This is
Well,
this is what the association is paying for this, for the internet and cable that we're getting now. We're paying $60, $67, $68, $69
Somewhere in
a
there.
month. I think, I'm not sure that includes the taxes.
No, taxes on top of that. It's like
yeah.
72.
Yeah. So they're offering us $53 a month. So that there's taxes on top of that. But the savings this year, if we would sign, we could sign as early as May, I think. The savings just this year would be close to, well, 80,000, something like that. I mean, it just, we've already budgeted for a higher rate, so the savings would be pretty considerable to the association. And then in future years, the savings are the cable, the Spectrum contract versus the fiber optics. And so the savings over the 5-year contract is what we would save if we went with Spectrum rather than one of the fiber optics. So it just seems like way too much money to turn down. I know some people complain about service, and one of the biggest issues that we would want Spectrum to fix would be burying some of the cable that you now see above the ground, and fixing some of the posts which are sometimes open with wires coming out, that kind of stuff. So doing some maintenance, which they should have been doing anyway.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the priorities. But we asked them about Wi-Fi at the pools. They said they could do that. There is a difference in DVRs, and at least one of the fiber companies, I'm not sure if they both offered DVRs for free, but one of them did.
I can't remember. Might have been the one I didn't attend, because
Yeah.
the one that I did attend said that's an option for additional fee,
Right.
just like Spectrum.
Right. The other one said that I think it was free. I think it was Hotwire.
Right.
And so the spectrum they said they would take a look at the DVR, and they haven't, as far as I know, they haven't gotten back to us on that. But if people have to pay for DVR versus being free, to me, it shouldn't be a deal breaker as far as I'm concerned, as far as going with Spectrum. In fact, I would like to see the IT committee recommend to the board that we renew with Spectrum. Go ahead.
I think that would be very difficult, Chris, for the IT committee to take a position before, unless, I should say, we do some elaborate kind of surveying of what uses people would make, of the various options. I mean, my guess is that, people are all in their 70s and 80s aren't going to run to streaming services and work out the whole thing for themselves, that they probably prefer getting a cable package rather than just, be able to have the fiber optic option without the cable package. But I know that from my own conversations with people at Spectrum, they're never ever going to spend any money upgrading the 4K capability. All their money's going to streaming to update that capability. And I'm not sure whether, how that sits with people.
I mentioned the fact that I thought we ought to do some surveying, and I sort of got shot down.
Okay, well, let me put it this way, in the absence of a survey, I don't feel the committee should make a recommendation, particularly if it's just based on, balance sheet issues.
I disagree, because the numbers are too large to ignore. I mean, you're talking $500,000, and I don't think you should ignore that. So I think it is appropriate for the IT committee to make a recommendation. It's again, it's our dollars that we would be spending, and I don't want to spend those dollars. There was mentioned at actually a different meeting by one of the board members that he thought that, everybody knew that's moving into the community is going to be streaming. I find that hard to believe.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that? Everybody what?
That all the new people moving into the community are going to be streaming.
Yeah.
And my suggestion would be that most people moving into the community are like me, are older people that aren't going to be streaming. So I think that we tend to, at this point, overestimate the number of people that are using streaming exclusively. I may stream once in a month or two, but I don't stream every night. I like actually the selection of channels on Spectrum, because most of them that I watch are sports channels or movie channels. And so I'm very happy. One thing you should be aware of, and that is that both of the fiber companies are going to offer us TV channels. We're not going to go strictly to streaming with either of the fiber companies. They have a package of channels that would be included in their service. And some of them would match, I think, come pretty close to what Spectrum's offering.
Yeah, I believe so, and a little local channels.
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
in that
yeah,
package.
yeah.
I had one of those up north, similar. So, yeah, it's all there. My thought is, well, yes, because a lot of owners' money, and there's maybe a couple of things we could look at, and that could be demographics of particularly anybody that's bought maybe within the last year, or John's doing 2 closings today, just to see, if we could somehow get a breakdown of age groups of our residents by whether it's every 5 years, every 10 years. We don't have to have names or addresses or any of that, but just to see what the balance of that demographic is to try to come up with that decision. I understand the dollars for sure. And I understand the majority of the older population would totally agree with Chris that the dollars are important. But I look at it from the opposite side of the fence, and that is the future of how much better everything can get and how it would enhance the property for people wanting to buy, to have the more newer upgraded technology. So that's my position. I disagree with Chris.
Yeah, Andrew, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know how on the commercials and TV, what they compare the Medicare programs, and they should have a table, and they have the green check mark and the green check mark and the green check mark, and whether we do this or whether the board does this, but sooner or later, this issue is going to raise awareness. And if it doesn't get raised, I will make sure it gets raised, that we have a table that has the pick a number, the top 10 operating features of each of these services, and the providers across the top, and it's a green check mark or it's a red X, so that at least the owners and the board make the decision with their eyes wide open with respect to what they are turning down with one selection versus what they are adopting for another selection. The biggest example of this is a voice-activated remote control. Spectrum is never going to do that. Comcast does have it. It's quite the feature, I will tell you, especially for older folks who get confused with their remote, and for them to be able to say, please put the color purple on, or whatever it is. Put the British Open on, and it comes up. It's a pretty nice feature. That's just one example. So I don't doubt that we'll end up gravitating to Spectrum, because the dollars, I have no argument there. It's very significant money. But I really do. I'm going to push for some type of a comparison chart, and I think that at the board level, John will probably do this, or somebody will probably do it at the board level, to make sure that everybody's eyes are wide open and we understand the basis, because I think the dollars will end up toppling a lot of these different features. One final point: what is the purpose of any association? And I'm studying this because I'm increasing my education. And there's only one answer, and it's always the same answer. It's to preserve and protect the value of the property. And as it relates to Roger's comment, sooner or later, this property will be fiber. There's no question in my mind. So if it's not going to happen in the next year and a half, I'm pretty sure it'll happen 5 years down the road. Unless Spectrum changes their business model. So, that's how I feel about it. I don't, my bottom line is that it's not my purview to say, let's make a recommendation, let's not make a recommendation. I might be more comfortable saying to the board, here's the top 10 value or benefits or features of each of these providers, and a comment. And with this chart, we can tell you that the IT committee is trending towards Spectrum because of price. There you go. And I'd be most comfortable with that. It is a decision that the board will make. I don't think, the board will put this out to an owner vote, but the board may still very well, in the decision process, put out a survey, because it's not a bad thing. So that's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Andrew, I will just tell you, it will definitely be a board decision, and I'm not confident that there'll be a survey.
Got it.
Yeah, the president of the board doesn't seem to want a survey. I think you got a valid point. There are some things about the fiber presentations which are pluses. There are things about the spectrum presentation that are pluses too, besides the money. Their speed that they're presenting to us are going to be faster than the fiber speeds. And the fiber people, they don't want to give us their top speed. They want us to pay for that. They want to give us, 200, 300 megabits. And then if we want faster speeds, got to pay more. And so at this point, Spectrum's offering us 900. And it seems to me what they've done is they've got fiber to our gateway. So they've got a way to increase our speeds considerably. And their download is going to be just about as good. It's not, the fiber companies are talking download the same as upload speed, or upload the same as download. So they're very, very fast. If you're at 300 download, you're going to get 300 upload. And a Spectrum's only going to guarantee something around 300 upload. So it is, I think, a good exercise to put those pluses and minuses together. One of the pluses I like of fiber is that you would eliminate cables in your unit going from the incoming area to your TVs. You don't have them. Everything would be Wi-Fi. So that's a plus. The sound activated remote is something I think Spectrum.
I thought they said they were going to be introducing it.
It's going to be, I think, an option that might cost more.
I have sound activated remotes at home in Toronto. And it's cute. Yes, as Andrew says, you can say CNN and CNN will pop up on your TV. But that and saying the color purple will bring, but nothing else. There isn't really anything else that it does that I find useful. You can't fast forward, you can't say stop, you can't say delete. If you're working on your PDR, things like that, that for me would be important, but they're, fine. CNN. You learn what number CNN is on your remote anyway.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Just for sort of a general point, does anyone have off the top of their head the age of the other two companies, or the age of all three, actually? How long have they been in business in this area?
The Blue Stream is a younger company than Hotwire. Hotwire's been around. It's a bigger company too. And so there was a board member, Tiffany Conklin, did a little bit of research on Blue Stream, and although they claim their service is terrific, they've had a number of complaints about their service. Hotwire, again, I don't think we've done much research on that. It would certainly behoove us, if we take a look at those streaming companies or those fiber companies, to do to check with some of the associations that adopted their programs and get some feedback that way. My disagreement with Roger is that we can go to fiber 5 years from now, but we can't afford to go to fiber now, considering what spectrum's up.
Mhm.
It's just too much money to be given away. And so if we want to go to fiber 5 years from now, that's fine. I don't have a big problem with that at all. And technology will be continually changing and getting better. But why not do what's best for our owners for this first 5 years?
Valid point, valid point.
I agree.
Not going to happen. The decision's not going to happen in the next month.
No, because the
Oh.
annual meeting's coming up first.
Right. So I think we can certainly put this on a discussion for the next month and maybe have some of that pluses and minuses that Andrew talked about. Okay. It's actually a fascinating exercise, I think.
That's one word for it.
We have to, well, I have promised to offer web classes based on our website in March. And so I guess one of the things I know Andrew and Jane helped me out when I offered the class on basic computers. Is there any particular dates that are going to work better for you guys?
Not much.
March is just unbelievable for my calendar. So you guys are gonna have to pick a day and I'll tell you whether I can or I can't.
I'm probably looking, we had it on a Thursday the last time. I'd probably be looking at a Thursday afternoon. And probably more towards the 3rd or 4th week of March.
I'm open the 21 or the 28.
'28th, I'm gone by then.
Okay, so the 21st would work better for you, Jane?
21st looks fine.
Okay,
I might be able to do something 21st because Judy has company here that week and it won't involve me.
okay. All righty. So I will get them to post this on the mailboxes and get out a little email that would remind people that we're going to do this. And
2 p.m. 2
yeah.
p.m.
that seems to work well. And usually we tell them it's an hour, but it's going to run over usually because people have questions. So it I think we'll get a pretty good response. I got the feeling that most of the people that were there at the other one would probably like to come back. Okay. An annual IT report. I usually forget about this until right before the annual meeting, but the committees, at least the ones that are active, are all supposed to make a report, an annual report at the annual meeting. And so I am open to suggestions for what we might be putting in that annual report.
I know.
I think certainly the work we've been doing to facilitate the Zoom for participants at our monthly meetings at either of the churches that we've been working with on that would be part of it. The updating the website and And, but is there other things that we should have you offering the classes?
Yeah, I was just gonna
Yeah,
say.
that would
you
be a good
mentioned that.
thing. Report that we,
Yeah.
how many you've done, how
Yeah.
many people have participated,
Yeah.
what the feedback has been from those participants, maybe,
Yeah.
you know, from you being there. Yeah, that would all be great data to put in a report.
Okay, it doesn't have to be real long. I know,
No.
in the past, we've been,
You might mention ongoing, classified ads for stuff and for, sales and so.
no,
maybe just-
yeah,
Maybe
that's a good
somebody
idea.
with
That's a good idea. We have had a little more interest in, units that are being rent, that are for rent.
Uh-huh.
And so people have been doing more of that lately. So I think we have 3 up there right now.
Good.
And there are some, and I think a lot of it has to do with the realtor, whether or not it gets put on our website if it's for sale. You know, some realtors, Debbie does it.
Yeah.
But some of the other realtors don't.
Well, the more people know that it's available.
Yeah.
More people will mention it to their realtor when
Yeah.
they're ready.
I can certainly add that. And
Perhaps too there, Chris, when you speak about the website, you could add the comment in there about how important it is to maintain your record accurately or up to date or whatever the right word is to make sure that your information is current and available to us, particularly for emergencies.
Yeah.
That's where we go to get the data. So
Yeah.
having people use the website and get to the directory and update their profiles is important to them, because otherwise they might not get information.
that's right.
So if that could be in the report too, that's one of the important uses of the website, I think that might help too. I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
people will hear it anyway. They might not do anything about it. They'll hear it said.
As a matter of fact, there is not a thing in their profile about emergency contact. And maybe, I think I can add that.
I thought there was, because I list my neighbor.
Maybe there is. Maybe there is.
My
I'd have
neighbor is
to- I'd
listed
have
as,
to look at it.
and my stepson is listed as an emergency contact, and so is my neighbor.
Okay,
I think that's only in the census that,
Oh, that's what yes, I'm sorry, you're right, it's on the census form. I
yeah,
don't know if you're right, I don't know if it's in the profile.
If you're
Thank
not,
you, Lynn.
you're not updating your census form, guess what? Nobody knows.
That's right.
yeah. I think I can add that to the profile. I'll go in and look. at
You're
that.
right. It may not be in there.
Yeah.
She's right. I'm thinking about the census form.
Yeah,
Because I would fill it out every spring before I went north.
you're one of the few.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't filled it out 15 years.
I've been here 8 or 9 years, and I probably filled it out 8 or 9 times.
well, you're a model citizen, Roger.
Get an A+.
Sometimes twice a year if we change cars.
It's hard to look at your profile without going through the directory. Yeah, we don't have it in there. That's a good picture of my wife.
It is.
Yeah.
That's in Alaska. We went to a place where they had sled dogs,
Oh, yeah.
and that's a
Where they
little,
train 'em?
that's a little
Yeah.
sled dog.
We did that too when we were up there.
I think it's Wasika. Or Wasilla. And I think that's the,
Can't remember where I was.
I think that's the name of the town. Okay, so I can run that, I will start working on that annual report and run that by everybody, before we, submit it. Catherine has, asked to be dropped from the committee. And so, she did, just asked me in the last day or two whether she could still have some of the privileges. She's an administrator that has limited access. And I said, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And so hopefully, she'll continue to do the calendar. She had been doing that. Although again, that's probably something that should be part of the administrative assistant job. And so I can make that suggestion. Cynthia, I don't believe is going to be here anymore. She hasn't been here in all week.
She hasn't been here all week?
No.
Oh, wow.
And she wasn't here last Friday.
She was here the last time I was in, and I don't remember when that was.
So John's been talking to a replacement. And one of the suggestions that I made was that it might be a good idea to contact, maybe we brought this up before, to contact Manatee Technical Institute about an intern. I think we mentioned it before and we said, well, who's going to train the intern? Well, that is an issue. I don't think there'd be any question about that.
Who's gonna train the new person? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
If she's gone, then
Yeah.
John's gonna have to do it.
Yeah. So, but John, seemed receptive to the idea that having an intern to, might be a good idea. I think answering the phone is a major part of the administrative assistant's job. And some of that might be offloaded to somebody like an intern. Because a lot of the time, those questions can, I mean, it's a work order or it's something that the administrative assistant might not be needed to answer. So sometimes it's just where's something going on, or it's not something that has to be that John or whoever the administrative assistant has to attend to.
Answering the phone is a huge distraction,
Yes,
but it's important and it's almost a full-time job.
yes,
Yes, but you can't get anything else done.
No, you cannot.
Right.
No matter how good of a multitasker you are, all those distractions of answering that phone continuously, you can't get anything else done. I understand that.
It's, you stop what you're doing and then you have to go back and reorient yourself. Yeah, it's not easy.
So we should have a good look at things posted on the website and find Cynthia's name, because I just saw one the other day.
She's still on the, I asked John this morning, I said, do you want me to take her email off? And he said, no, not yet,
Not yet.
because he has to check it. And I said, well, I can forward her email to your email. Oh, he said that would be great.
And well, even just to have a list of where her name appears, so
right.
that when the time comes,
Right.
to switch it over to someone else.
Right. And it's one of the reasons we've been
Right.
changing it from her to office.
Yes.
Right.
Because one just never knows when something will come up like this.
Yeah, we still had Catherine's name on something.
Yeah.
So that's the latest on that situation. And are there any other issues that we should be dealing with? Lynn?
I just want to add to the discussion about the Cynthia problem that we have never had a role in screening a new hire. And I've always felt that the part of her job or their job that involves the use of the computer is really crucial. And that at some point, I'd like to see the requirements for the job include fluency with, this, and this program to include Adobe. What's the Adobe? not-
Acrobat,
Writer.
Acrobat.
Acrobat, right. Because there's a lot of things we end up sort of doing or getting people to do piecemeal that we do because the office person
Those are
either does a crummy job or, screws up some form or something and we have to go clean it up. So that's just and I don't know how to raise that issue, but I think it's important.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's perhaps a short list that we could present to John and say, these are some of the things that would be helpful for us in a new person. Some skills. One item I forgot to put on the agenda, and that is that Spectrum said that we could have a television channel.
They all did.
And
They all did. The Hotwire did too.
is that right? I
Yeah.
didn't know. I
Hotwire
didn't
did
remember that.
I don't remember about, Hotwire did say so as
Yeah.
well.
Okay.
I believe that was one of the things that I saw.
Well, one of the questions that came up then was, and it was directed to me, is who would manage it? And I said at that time, I didn't think, I said, and John, John's in the room. I said, I think Cynthia's plate is full. And that adding that to her responsibilities would have been more than maybe it needed to be. And I said that we had discussed as a committee the possibility of having volunteers do it. And I think one of the people that I thought at the time we discussed it that would be a prime person would have been Catherine. But that doesn't seem to be a possibility going forward. I'm more leaning towards it's not necessary. The number of people that would look at that channel is too small to spend a lot of time and energy on. Go ahead.
It was a lot of time and energy for whoever had to keep it up, but I think the whole design of the thing was a complete disaster. You're talking about that kind of bulletin board thing
Right.
that
Yeah,
nobody.
it was on a PowerPoint presentation on an old computer that sat behind the desk here.
Right, when Maggie was here, I think, or maybe
I don't think
Catherine.
Maggie, it was done by then. Catherine's the last one that did anything with it.
Well, it's really an obsolete, this business of having a linear presentation where you had to sit through half an hour before it recycled.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody with any,
Yeah.
nobody with any brains about communication had designed the thing, and then we were locked into this template. I'd rather just forget about it, but I would like to have the ability to stream the office meetings, the in-office meetings on a channel. There are a lot of people who can't Zoom, who can't manage it, and who would like to sit in on meetings, and have no real interest in participating. I mean, I know that cuts out the two-way business that Zoom offers, but I think that would be a very useful thing for us to do.
Jane? Um, We have the ability, and I looked at it briefly. As part of Zoom, you can go live on YouTube or live on Twitch. I have no idea what Twitch is, but I assume it's something that you can stream on. I tried it on YouTube and I had problems with it. I'm not sure what, I'd have to go back and take a look at what those problems were, but it wasn't working. Wasn't working well. And so I can take a look at what we need to do to make it work. And that way somebody could, as you say, watch on YouTube a meeting. They can't participate, but they could watch. Andrew?
Yeah, don't, I would urge us not to throw the community channel out with the bathwater just yet. I've been in this community now for almost a year, not quite a year. And, you know, I would not give this community very high marks when it comes to engaging owners with communication. There's a lot of work to be done. When you've got signage, the spelling of bulletin board notwithstanding, when you've got signage that says check bulletin board as you're driving out for some really important scheduling information about blacktopping, and that's the sort of the only real way that, I don't know if that was done for a backstop or whatever, but one of the board members at the last meeting was called on very little awareness of the first annual pickleball tournament. And I agreed with the person that you know, I heard nothing about that. So for owners who we've already said time and time again are very analog around here, punching in 3 numbers on their remote control to get to a channel, and that's it. Never mind going to YouTube, never mind going to any other, just 3 numbers to get to the community channel is really important. And I back up what Lynn says, for them to be able to observe meetings is huge. And again, at the previous community I was at, yeah, you can get really out of hand if you have like 35 slides. But someone with a communications background, yes, correct, can, you know, put, just pick a number, 12 slides, 15 slides. That's all you're ever going to have. Pick what goes there and cycle them through, you know, maintain it once or twice 3 times a week, whatever. My experience is that people do turn that on and they just have it on in the background as they're doing stuff in their condo because they like it. It's a connection that they enjoy. So I hope we can do some more research, but I know it's low tech. I get it. And some of the structure that people have used in the past, we had the same problem back in the previous community. The systems that they used and it was a pain in the butt because it was clunky and many steps to get new slides up. But that doesn't have to be the case. It can be streamlined and updated. And so hopefully we can do a little bit more research with that because it's a good tool.
Well, I think that Spectrum is supposed to give us some information about how the newer digital ones
Great.
work.
Great.
And hopefully it will be easier. My feeling is that most of the things that would be on there are in our announcements page. And that's a more accurate and up-to-date way for people to find out what's going on. And I didn't have any idea there was a pickleball tournament either. That was the pickleball people. They seem to be a group sort of on their own. But we can certainly see what Spectrum has. And if we go with a fiber company, what they have as far as the channel. But I know that, pretty sure that when we did a survey 3 or 4 years ago, we did a survey and the number of people that were using that channel, I think was around 12 or 13% of the respondents to the survey. We had a good response to the survey. So it is going to be probably a relatively low number that might use it.
I think we could have a community channel that just says, go to the announcements page of the website.
There you go.
Low
Well,
maintenance.
and again, if we could stream meetings on it, that would be useful.
Mhm.
If we could what, Chris?
Go to the county channel.
Oh, the county.
Yeah,
Oh.
No, didn't know they had one.
yeah, county meetings are streamed.
Okay,
So again, I think it's one of those things that sort of people don't know it's out there.
well, it's been gone for a while, too.
Oh, ours has. I know, but the counties have
Yeah.
been on for quite a while. And
You know, Bird's been gone for a bit now.
I think at least 2 to 3 years, yeah.
People have gotten used to living without it,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
if you resurrect it, you've got a whole nother learning project.
yeah, that's true. Well, it may be possible for us to make it better, make it work better.
Well, definitely should be something easier to update that possibly doesn't rely on the office assistant who has, we all know,
Yeah, yeah,
enough things on
Yeah.
the plate.
that would, unless it's real easy, unless it's something that they could do without too much trouble. Okay, any other item? Then I would suggest that the next meeting would be not the 4th Friday, but the last Friday, because March has 5. So it would be March 29th.
Works for me.
And you don't have to leave that early. It's still be cold up in Ontario.
You're gonna leave before the Easter bunny?
All right, thank you, everybody. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Seconded here in the office. Thanks for attending, and we'll see you. Well, I'll send out things on both the census form and the IT annual report.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks, Chris. Bye.
Uh,